Greetings, everyone. Dr. Brian Scott with you again this week as we begin a brand new week of Insight to the End Times. We have been examining changes in our world, changes in our government leadership, their approach to things. This is not just one nation. This is a global effect that's occurring. There are probably aspects of this that occurred before, but they're really being accentuated in these days that we're living because of the days in which we're living. Today is Monday, November the 13th. Over 5 weeks ago, roughly speaking, Hamas invaded Israel. That's led to the Israeli-Hamas war that's ongoing and continues to be quite a situation. A lot of bombing, a lot of death, just a lot of terror has been released on the world, and there's a lot of warfare now all around the world as you have pro-Israeli groups and you have pro-Palestinian groups, and you even have some pro-Hamas groups. And they all have their agendas, they all have their points of view, and so on and so forth. It doesn't seem as if anyone ever gets to the bottom line in these situations to decide whether things are right or wrong or correct or not correct. Anyways, I want to share some more thoughts with you on the fact that we are moving closer and closer to this one world nature. And this is predicted in the scriptures. This is what the Antichrist, who will come on the scene at the beginning of the tribulation period of 7 years, he will be pushing for a one world position. He wants to be the ruler over the entire world. He is empowered by Satan himself, who in heaven was known as Lucifer. He was one of the three archangels. And it has always been his desire to rule the world. We covered this in our session yesterday, the 5 I wills of Satan. But let's get into today. I wanted to just mention that when I grew up, I was born here in Canada. I've been raised here, basically within the same region of southwestern Ontario, and I've been educated here. I've had my law practice in this area. I have had some business endeavors in this area. I have been pastoring a church for many years now. I have been a student and a studier of end-time prophecies for over 40 years, roughly 43 years now. I really became quite interested in the year 1980, and through my law practice days, I had the privilege of representing a number of internationally acclaimed end-time prophetic teachers, men whose lives are dedicated to studying the end-time scriptures and teaching on them. And they became not only clients of the firm, but they became very close personal friends. I traveled with them. I spent a great deal of time with them. We talked about scriptures, we talked about timing and so on. But through all of this, what I really want to say to you is all I've ever known is freedom. Freedom of religion, freedom of choice, freedom of speech, freedom of belief, freedom to associate, freedom to gather. Everything has always been freedom. And it was a shock to my system and probably to yours as well when the pandemic hit in 2020, because all of a sudden freedom was something we no longer had the right to. It was thrown out the window. Now, through the previous years in my life, there have been all kinds of things that have come. We've had SARS-1 and SARS-2, which were virus situations. We've had annual flu attacks, various veins and so on of flu. We've gone through these things before, but it didn't result in losing freedoms like this. And all of a sudden, our normal way of treating things was no longer good enough. It wasn't going to work. And I'm not going to get into all the details of the virus and all that other stuff associated with it. It's been debated, it's been discussed, it's been recorded, it's been written about, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of articles. All I want to point out is this. Fear was stronger in this situation than it has ever been in the world. Even so, even compared to First World War, Second World War, Afghanistan war, Middle East war, you name it. Even the attack on the Twin Towers in New York City, 9/11. Fear gripped us in a pocket, but it didn't grip us universally. And the fear that was released in this pandemic, it went around the entire world. And it was massive fear. So much so that if I was in a grocery store and they had these markings on the floor 6 feet apart, if my left foot toes, the top 2 inches of my shoe happened to be across the line, the person in front of me had a fit. I had it happen to me a couple times. They had markings on the aisles, what direction we could go. You know all this. You experienced it. I many times found myself going down the aisle the wrong way. Oh, my goodness. The aisle police got on my case. Other shoppers. Fear, you see, fear. Tremendous fear. So governments were asked, demanded by the people, get involved and solve this problem for us because we don't know what to do. So they responded. I guess we can't blame them for responding. A demand was made of them to respond. But did they respond appropriately? Did they go too far? Seems to me they did. When they shut down everything except a very few places, there's how do you justify shutting down churches and shutting down family gatherings and shutting down all the normal stores, but you keep big box stores open? Now, we had stores shut down right, left, and center, but the thing that really caught my attention as humorous to me was the government-run beer stores and the government-run liquor stores were allowed to stay open. That should tell us something. So, altogether, what I'm saying is that we have moved into a one government mentality where when we don't know how to solve a problem anymore, we turn to the government. We've lost our ability to think, it seems. And the decisions that people are making are very, very strange decisions because we're being coerced. I guess maybe that's too strong a word, since many people demanded the government solve these problems. I was branded many, many times for wanting to have a discussion of pros and cons. There's no room for pros and cons. You have to do what you're told. Well, I just want to debate the pros and cons. Is this legitimate? And who decided 6 feet was the key number? And who decided that a family gathering of no more than, 4 people? And who decided you had to have it outside? Like a lot of things didn't make sense. Anyways, let me close. You might be saying, please close. Let me close. Some people are so brainwashed with this, and I don't say that disrespectfully, but there isn't anything anybody can say to you that you will listen to other than what the government says. And really, come on. Not everything they say makes sense. If you've never heard the story of how to cook frog's legs, it goes like this. Take a frog and put him into tepid water, put the container, like the pot, on the stovetop, slowly start turning it up. Go through number 2, then go up to number 3, then go up to number 4, then go up to number 5, and go up to number 6. And when you get to number 7, that might be the point where the water starts to boil. I don't really know what the numbers indicate in terms of when boiling does occur. That's not my forte. But let's say it was number 7. You get to number 7 and the water's boiling and there's that frog. He's been swimming around having a great time and all of a sudden he's toast. And you got frog's legs. How did it happen? Slow, methodical, intensify the situation. How's this one world government coming into existence? Slow, methodically, intensifying the situation, watching people's responses, turning up the heat a little bit more, watching their response, and before you know it, we're done. And we are done.